the Black Superman of the martial arts, star of the famous Enter the Dragon.
The Tattoo Connection is not merely a martial arts film. It is more like an old case file that was sealed shut and forgotten for more than 4 decades. An Arctic diamond disappears in the heart of Hong Kong. A black former CIA agent enters the underworld and calls himself the Black $6 Million Man. No passwords, no identities. Only identical tattoos carved into flesh, the mark of an organization that leaves no witnesses. On screen, there are techniques and speed. Behind the camera, there were real conflicts, real violence, and truths deliberately concealed. Jim Kelly did not just play a hero, he confronted racism, real-life danger, and boundaries Hollywood never spoke about. Bolo Yeung was not just a villain. He represented a wild era of cinema where everything could spiral out of control. So, what are the 20 secrets that have been buried alongside the Tattoo Connection 1978 for decades? And what happens when the tattoos begin to speak the truth? Asian martial arts and the rebellious spirit of American cinema. At the end of the 1970s, Asian martial arts cinema entered a strange phase. Bruce Lee had passed away, yet his shadow never disappeared. On the contrary, it hung over the entire industry like a prolonged aftershock. From Hong Kong and Taiwan to Southeast Asia, a flood of films emerged with one clear goal: to find Bruce Lee's successor. This era became known as Bruceploitation, where every kick, every scream, every stance tried to evoke a legend who could never be replaced. Within that context, Lee Sok-nan emerged as a director fully aware of where he stood in the current of the times. With a background in film editing and experience as an assistant director in Taiwan, Lee understood the anatomy of a commercial film: fast, forceful, direct, and without detours. He did not attempt to create another Bruce Lee. Instead, he chose a different path, riskier, but bolder, blending Asian martial arts with the rebellious spirit of American cinema. That was when Jim Kelly entered the game. A black Hollywood star, a genuine karate fighter, a face carrying the full weight of the blaxploitation wave, a genre that celebrated black identity while remaining raw, violent, and provocative. The Tattoo Connection. 1978 made no effort to hide its ambition. This was not simply a Hong Kong martial arts film, but an East-West hybrid where audiences could watch Taekwondo-style kicks, while American funk music echoed through the streets of Hong Kong. The film was produced by First Films Hong Kong, with Luke Pak Sang and H. Wong serving as both producers and screenwriters. Behind the camera stood seasoned figures of Hong Kong cinematography by Chuang Yan Chen, music composed by Frankie Chan Fan K, and editing by Marco Mak. There were no A-list Hollywood stars, no massive marketing campaign. But there was one thing the market desperately craved at the time: novelty and danger. On July 27, 1978, The Tattoo Connection premiered in Hong Kong with a runtime of approximately 90 minutes. The film did not win major awards. It was not praised by critics. But audiences remembered it. They remembered the relentless fight sequences. They remembered a version of Jim Kelly unlike anything Hollywood had shown: edgier, alienated, and defiantly confrontational. They remembered the feeling of watching a film whose destination was completely uncertain. Over time, The Tattoo Connection slipped out of the mainstream, yet survived in another space cult cinema. Film enthusiasts rediscovered it, not for its reputation, but for the unease, roughness, and raw honesty it delivered. A work born at the intersection of multiple movements, and for that very reason, filled with things that were never openly spoken. And as the spotlight faded, as posters became mere relics, the secrets behind the film finally began to surface. From here, we step into the part of The Tattoo Connection that it never revealed to its audience. 20 truths, piece by piece, layer by layer, begin right now. 1. The film title and its alternative names. From the moment of its release, The Tattoo Connection existed under multiple titles, clearly reflecting how the film was adjusted to suit different markets. In Hong Kong, the film was not titled The Tattoo Connection, but carried the original Chinese title, Zhu Zuan Feng Yun, Zhuzuan Feng Yun, which can be understood as Storm of the Giant Diamond. This title closely aligned with the film's core premise, a large-scale diamond theft that triggers a chain of pursuits and conflicts within the criminal underworld. When released internationally, especially in English-speaking markets, the film was retitled The Tattoo Connection. The new title emphasized the element of tattoos, the identification code used by the gang in the film, in order to create a sense of mystery and better match Western audience tastes. This was a common naming strategy at the time, as many Hong Kong action films were retitled to increase their appeal abroad. However, in certain markets such as the United Kingdom, the film was also released under the name Black Belt Jones 2. On posters and DVD covers, this title appeared as if the film were a sequel to Black Belt Jones 1974, the movie that had established Jim Kelly as an icon of American blaxploitation cinema. In reality, The Tattoo Connection has no narrative character or setting connection whatsoever to Black Belt Jones. The official sequel to Black Belt Jones is Hot Potato 1976. Labeling The Tattoo Connection as Black Belt Jones 2 was purely a marketing tactic exploiting Jim Kelly's name recognition to attract audiences. This deliberate ambiguity led many viewers for years to believe the two films belonged to the same series, even though in reality, they are entirely independent works. 2. The main storyline. The story of The Tattoo Connection is built around a single object that drives the entire narrative, the North Pole Star Diamond. This is not merely a valuable piece of jewelry, but a symbol of power greed and the chain of violence that runs throughout the film. The diamond theft takes place in Hong Kong, executed swiftly, cleanly, and bearing the unmistakable mark of a tightly organized criminal operation. Facing the risk of paying out a massive compensation claim, the insurance company decides to hire Lucas, a former CIA agent who has left the service portrayed by Jim Kelly, to track down and recover the diamond before the situation spirals out of control. Lucas arrives in Hong Kong as an outsider, but is quickly pulled into a complex underworld where the rules are not written on paper, but etched directly onto the bodies of those who play the game. On the other side, the diamond thieves are not a unified collective. Standing out among them is Dong Tu, played by Dorian Tan Tao Liang, a close lieutenant within the organization. Dong Tu is not entirely ruthless. He begins to waver as his relationship with Nami Misaki grows deeper. Nana wants Dong Tu to abandon the criminal path and escape the cycle of violence that the diamond brings. Dong Tu's hesitation creates subtle cracks within the gang's internal structure. From this point, the film unfolds along two parallel trajectories. On one side is Lucas representing the West reason and duty. On the other is Dong Tu trapped between loyalty and the desire for escape. The pursuit plays out not only on the streets of Hong Kong, but also within the psychological conflicts of the characters, creating a tense rhythm that continuously drives the narrative toward confrontation. 3. The meaning of the tattoo connection. In The Tattoo Connection, the tattoo connection is not a decorative detail or a mere curiosity, but the core operating mechanism of the criminal organization that Lucas must confront. As he traces the stolen diamonds trail, Lucas gradually notices a recurring commonality among those involved in the heist. Each of them bears the same tattoo design on their body. These tattoos are not displayed openly or easily noticed. They are placed in discreet locations, revealed only in certain situations during fights, while changing clothes, or in internal meetings. This secrecy makes it difficult for local police and authorities to detect any connection between the individuals. For Lucas, this becomes the first crucial clue that the theft was not an isolated act, but the product of a tightly organized network. Behind that network stands Boss Locke, the figure who oversees the entire underground operation. To Locke, the tattoos serve more than an identifying function. They are symbols of loyalty and tools of control. Those who carry the tattoos belong to the inner circle, directly involved in major operations and subject to Locke's absolute command. Through the tattoos, Locke can instantly recognize his subordinates without the need for real names, documents, or passwords. For Lucas, decoding the tattoo connection means unraveling the structure of the entire criminal organization. From a single diamond theft, he begins to trace the hidden links between individuals who initially appear unrelated. The tattoos become the key that grants him access to Hong Kong's underworld, a world where true identities are erased, and only the permanent marks etched into flesh remain. 4. Black $6 Million Man. When Lucas officially steps into the pursuit of the stolen diamond, he does not appear as a CIA agent molded after familiar Hollywood conventions. In his very first lines of dialogue, Lucas introduces himself with a striking nickname, Black $6 Million Man. This self-designation is a direct play on the famous television character, the $6 Million Man, reworked to suit the identity and personality of the character portrayed by Jim Kelly. This nickname is not merely meant to impress. It establishes Lucas's position within the world of the Tattoo Connection, a Black American entering Hong Kong with supreme confidence and a clear awareness of his own worth and abilities. Lucas does not hide his background, nor does he attempt to blend into the new environment. Instead, he carries his distinctly American demeanor with him, while quickly adapting to the realities of the Asian underworld. The construction of Lucas as a character reveals a clear fusion of two cinematic styles. In terms of action, much of the film's runtime is devoted to direct one-on-one combat where Lucas faces off against Asian martial arts masters. The fight scenes are staged in the familiar rhythm of Hong Kong cinema, fast, forceful, minimal dialogue, and focused on physical movement. Jim Kelly, with his solid karate foundation, is placed at the center of these confrontations, rather than relying on gunfights or Hollywood-style chase sequences. Conversely, Lucas still retains the identity of a Western super agent, independent, decisive, and acting according to his own code of conduct. 5. Boss Locke and his enforcers. The greatest counterforce to Lucas in the Tattoo Connection is not an anonymous gang, but Boss Locke, the crime lord, orchestrating the entire diamond theft. The character is portrayed by Chan Sing, a familiar face in Hong Kong cinema, known for playing authoritative villains. Locke is constructed as a cold, calculating figure who controls everything through violence and fear, representing the most ruthless side of the underworld. Under Locke's command is a tightly organized hierarchy of subordinates, the most important of whom is Dong To, Locke's younger brother, played by Dorian Tan Tao Liang. Unlike his brother, Dong To is not driven purely by ambition. From the outset, he is tasked with monitoring Lucas and eliminating him if necessary. His early actions establish him as a dangerous fighter, loyal to the organization and ready to strike on command. However, this character arc gradually shifts as Dong To's relationship with Nana becomes more pronounced. Nana wants Dong to abandon the criminal path and live a life beyond violence and constant pursuit. Her presence causes Dong to hesitate, breaking away from his mechanical obedience to Locke's orders. These moments of internal conflict create subtle cracks within the organization, even if they are not immediately visible. The contrast between the two brothers Locke and Dong adds narrative depth to the story. If Locke represents absolute power and cruelty, Dong reflects the possibility of choice and personal awakening. As a result, the Tattoo Connection does not revolve solely around Lucas versus the underworld, but also introduces internal conflict, making the film's progression more tense and unpredictable. 6. The roles of Dorian Tan and Nami Misaki. In the Tattoo Connection, the character arcs of Dong Tu and Nana play a crucial role in adding emotional depth to the story, closely tied to director Lee So-nam's casting choices. Dorian Tan Tao Liang was no stranger to Lee. The two had collaborated multiple times on other martial arts action films. Dorian Tan was known by the nickname Flash Legs for his fast and powerful kicking technique rooted in Taekwondo, making him a natural fit for the role of Dong To. In the film, Dong To is portrayed as a close combat specialist, particularly lethal with kicks and direct strikes. He speaks little with his character, defined primarily through action and reflexes during fights. Dorian Tan's performance establishes Dong Tu as a true rival to Lucas, not only physically but tactically as well. Lee So-nam's decision to place Dong Tu in extended combat sequences reflects his confidence in Dorian Tan's pure martial arts ability. Opposite Dong Tu stands Nana, played by Nami Misaki, whose Chinese name is Lee Hai-kei. Nana has limited screen time, but each appearance is tied to pivotal moments. She is portrayed as a seductive, yet self-determined woman, differing from the decorative female archetype common in action films of that era. Nana openly expresses her desire for Dong Tu to leave the criminal world, placing her directly at odds with Boss Locke. The tension between Nana and Locke does not escalate into overt violence, but exists as psychological pressure. This pressure pushes Dong Tu into a state of inner conflict, torn between loyalty to his family and the desire to escape the cycle of violence. Through the performances of Dorian Tan and Nami Misaki, the supporting characters in the Tattoo Connection move beyond mere narrative decoration and become key drivers of the film's tension and progression. 7. The theme song Diamond. The Tattoo Connection opens not with gunfire or a fight scene, but with music. From the very first frames, the song Diamond plays with an upbeat funk rhythm, creating an atmosphere markedly different from many Hong Kong martial arts films of the same era. The song is performed by Anders Nelson, an actor who was also a singer, and clearly carries the musical spirit of the Western 1970s. The melody of Diamond is cheerful at times, slightly quirky, standing in contrast to the violence and tension that the story is about to unfold. This contrast makes the opening especially memorable. Viewers are drawn into a world where the diamond heist is not merely a crime, but an adventure-like game. The music establishes a treasure hunt mindset, emphasizing risk and mystery rather than pure darkness. Diamond also clearly reflects the film's East-West hybrid approach. Instead of traditional Hong Kong-style scoring, the filmmakers chose funk and soul genres closely associated with American blaxploitation cinema. The pronounced bassline driving drums and Nelson's relaxed vocal delivery create a distinctly 70s feel, placing the audience squarely in the historical moment in which the film was made. According to many fans, this musical choice plays a significant role in shaping the cult status of the Tattoo Connection. It gives the film a uniquely chaotic charm, part martial arts, part crime thriller, part freewheeling entertainment. Although Diamond never became a hit beyond the film itself, it remains a frequently cited and unforgettable detail inseparable from the film's distinctive identity in audience memory. 8. Martial arts and the action team. The action in the Tattoo Connection is built around an experienced martial arts team led by Bruce Leung Siu Leung, also known as Bruce Liang. He was a well-known martial artist and actor during the 1970s kung fu film boom, often nicknamed Bruce the Eagle. In this film, Bruce Leung served as the chief action director and also appeared on screen as a skilled fighter within Boss Lock's organization. Under Bruce Leung's coordination, the hand-to-hand combat scenes were designed in a direct style, minimizing special effects and focusing on the performer's real fighting abilities. This approach reflects the dominant action philosophy of Hong Kong martial arts cinema at the time: fast pacing, real physical impact, and minimal editing to preserve the flow of combat. As a result, the film's fight scenes feel forceful and continuous, conveying the weight and danger of each technique. Also part of the action team was Tony Leung Siu Hung, who would later become a prominent action director and actor in many major productions. Tony Leung's involvement added greater rhythmic flexibility to the fight choreography, blending traditional hand techniques with rapid movement and footwork, creating variation across the confrontations. Another key element was Dorian Tan Tao Liang, renowned for his exceptional kicking ability. Bruce Leung fully exploited this strength when designing Dong To's fight scenes, placing the character in situations that demanded high-level rapid-fire kicking combinations. The collaboration between Bruce Leung, Tony Leung Siu Hung, and Dorian Tan resulted in intense, hard-hitting combat sequences that helped establish the Tattoo Connection as a film that genuinely satisfied martial arts enthusiasts of its time. 9. Flash Legs. Dorian Tan. Among the cast of the Tattoo Connection, Dorian Tan Tao Liang stands out not only for his character's role, but also for his exceptional martial arts ability. In the action film scene of the 1970s, Dorian Tan was known by the nickname Flash Legs, derived from the rare speed and precision of his kicking techniques. His taekwondo background gave him powerful high kicks, rapid execution, and fluid combinations, creating a fighting style distinctly different from the more traditional martial artists commonly seen in Hong Kong cinema. In the Tattoo Connection, this strength is fully exploited to shape Dong Tu as an unpredictable and formidable opponent. The fight scenes show Dong Tu almost always gaining the upper hand when using his legs, forcing opponents to keep their distance and remain in constant defense. His kicks are choreographed at a fast pace with minimal pauses, making the fights tense and clearly dominant in momentum. This style introduces an important tactical detail within the film. Lucas cannot rely on his legs to confront Dong Tu directly. Recognizing this disadvantage, Jim Kelly's character is forced to adjust his approach, focusing on close-range combat hand techniques, grappling, and endurance to create opportunities for counterattack. This adjustment not only heightens the tension of their confrontations, but also clearly distinguishes the fighting styles of the two central characters. Thanks to the Flash Legs nickname and the intelligent use of his martial arts skills, Dorian Tan becomes one of the most memorable action highlights of the Tattoo Connection, contributing to hand-to-hand combat scenes that are rhythmic, dynamic, and distinct from many films of the same era. 10. The role of Nami Misaki. Lee Hoi-gae. In the Tattoo Connection, The character Nana portrayed by Nami Misaki does not appear frequently, yet occupies a pivotal position in Dong-to's psychological arc. Nami Misaki's real name is Lee Hoi-gae, an actress who was active mainly in Hong Kong for a brief period in the late 1970s. At the time she participated in this film, she was not yet a prominent name, and was often cast in supporting roles that served as accents within action films. Nana is written as Dong-to's lover, a woman emotionally tied to the underworld, yet not fully belonging to it. She does not directly participate in heists or acts of violence, but her presence creates a counterforce to the path Dong-to is on. Nana's desire to leave the criminal world and seek a different life becomes the factor that causes Dong-to waver gradually, undermining his absolute loyalty to Boss Lok. After the tattoo connection, Nami Misaki's career took a completely different direction. She moved to Japan and appeared in a number of sexually exploitative films for Nikkatsu, a studio well known for its Roman porno line. During this period, she also collaborated with Bruce Lee, an actor recognized for comedy and action films that capitalized on the Bruce Lee-inspired trend. Despite being a supporting role, Nana functions as a rare emotional anchor within the film, contributing to a key psychological turning point for Dong-to, and adding depth to the character line that stands in contrast to Lucas. 11. The spectacular chase sequence. One of the most frequently mentioned segments of the tattoo connection is the car chase sequence in which Jim Kelly performed the stunts himself without the use of a stunt double. In this scene, Lucas clings to the roof of a speeding vehicle as it races through the streets of Hong Kong with the situation constantly shifting, and the risk of an accident ever present. What makes this sequence stand out is not elaborate special effects or complex staging, but the fact that Jim Kelly personally carried out every action. As the car hurtles forward, Kelly climbs onto the roof, maintains his balance without modern safety equipment, then suddenly leaps through a window to re-enter the vehicle. The movements unfold seamlessly, creating a sense of authenticity and danger that perfectly matches the action filmmaking style of the 1970s. At the time, it was uncommon for a lead actor, especially one from Hollywood, to perform such hazardous stunts personally. This demonstrates Jim Kelly's seriousness about the project and his commitment to preserving the realism of the character Lucas. The chase sequence not only accelerates the film's pace, but also reinforces Lucas's image as a true action operative willing to face real danger. For this reason, the scene has become one of the most memorable moments in the tattoo connection. Even more than 4 decades after the film's release, fans continue to reference this sequence as proof of Jim Kelly's direct, uncompromising action spirit in the film. 12. The oil tanker fight scene. The climax of the tattoo connection reaches its highest intensity in the final battle, which takes place aboard an oil tanker in a confined and highly dangerous setting. The choice of this location is not merely for novelty, but to heighten the sense of claustrophobia and tension in the ultimate confrontation. On the narrow metal structure of the ship, there is no room for evasion or retreat. Every conflict must be resolved through direct violence. Here, Lucas faces the remaining forces of Boss Lok one by one, including familiar faces from Hong Kong action cinema, such as Chun Sing Chiang Tao and Bolo Yeung. These characters are not developed in psychological depth, but function instead as walls of muscle blocking Lucas's path toward his final objective. Their collective presence turns the tanker into a combat arena, where Lucas is surrounded and attacked from multiple directions. At the center of the sequence is the one-on-one showdown between Lucas and Dong-to. Within the cramped space of the ship's deck and metal compartments, Dong-to's advantage's speed and powerful kicks are severely limited, forcing both fighters into close-quarters combat. This shift makes the fight heavier and more direct, distinctly different from their earlier encounters. Lucas must contend not only with Dong-to, but also with sudden attacks from Lok's remaining enforcers. This relentless pressure gives the finale its weight, turning the oil tanker fight into one of the most memorable action sequences in the film. 13. Bolo Yeung and the action. Big Brother. Bolo Yeung's Yangtze appearance in the tattoo connection carries more symbolic weight than screen time. By that point, Bolo had already become a familiar face to international audiences through his role as the villain Bolo in Enter the Dragon 1973, where he left a strong impression with his massive physique and intimidating presence. That established image meant that every appearance by Bolo, no matter how small the role, left a lasting mark. In the tattoo connection, Bolo Yeung plays a thug aligned with Boss Lok's faction, with few lines of dialogue and little character development. However, he is positioned in key sequences, particularly in the final climax aboard the oil tanker. There, Bolo's muscular build and strength-focused fighting style create an immediate sense of danger, forcing Lucas to confront a brute force opponent alongside speed-based fighters like Dong To. One interesting detail surrounding this role is that Bolo Yeung's voice in the English language release is not his real voice. Like many Hong Kong films of the era, The Tattoo Connection was entirely dubbed for overseas markets. The English dub voice for Bolo's character differs noticeably from his original Chinese voice, a detail easily recognized by viewers familiar with Bolo Yeung's work. Although a supporting role, Bolo Yeung's presence adds significant weight to the film's final action sequences and connects The Tattoo Connection to a generation of martial arts villains who became icons of 1970s action cinema. 14. The unusual nickname of the main character. In The Tattoo Connection, Lucas introduces himself only once, using the nickname Black $6 Million Man. Although brief, this detail carries particular significance in the construction of the character. The phrase is a direct wordplay on the $6 Million Man, the iconic super agent figure from American television in the 1970s, symbolizing technological power and state authority. When Lucas uses this nickname within the Hong Kong setting, it is not merely for humor or self-aggrandizement. The self-introduction reveals a character who is fully aware of his identity and position, a Black American stepping into the Asian underworld with confidence, even a touch of audacity. Rather than downplaying his difference, Lucas openly emphasizes it, turning his background into a personal statement. This detail also clearly reflects the film's cultural hybridity. The Tattoo Connection does not attempt to fully Hong Kongize Lucas, but allows him to retain his American style, both in language and attitude. The nickname Black $6 Million Man thus becomes a subtle comedic accent, signaling to the audience that this character does not conform to the traditional heroic molds of Asian martial arts cinema. Though fleeting, the line helps define Lucas as an independent, distinctive, and unpredictable figure. It demonstrates how the film leverages Jim Kelly's image to create a hybrid hero familiar to Western audiences, yet sufficiently unconventional to exist within Hong Kong's underworld. 15. The tense backstage fight incident, alongside the on-screen action. The Tattoo Connection also recorded a rare behind-the-scenes incident directly involving Jim Kelly. According to an account published in Black Belt magazine, a tense situation occurred during filming between Kelly and another actor while shooting a combat scene. By Jim Kelly's own recollection, the fellow actor was uncomfortable having to face him directly in the fight sequences. The issue did not stem from martial arts technique, but rather from racial prejudice. The actor complained that Kelly was striking too hard, even though Kelly had deliberately reduced his power, pulled his blows, and maintained safe distance in accordance with standard action filming principles. The incident made the atmosphere on set tense during several segments. Kelly stated that he was forced to remain constantly alert during the fight scenes, as there were moments when he felt the other performer was no longer fully following the choreography and appeared intent on fighting for real. In certain takes, to prevent the situation from escalating, Kelly even had to step back or further reduce the intensity of his techniques, despite the impact this had on the rhythm and force of the scene. This story reveals a lesser-discussed side of East-West collaborative projects in the 1970s. For a Black American actor working within an Asian film production environment, the process was not always smooth. Differences in culture, attitude, and personal bias could surface even during action scenes that were ostensibly technical in nature. This remains one of the notable behind-the-scenes memories that Jim Kelly openly shared about The Tattoo Connection. 16. The steamy content of the 1970s, alongside martial arts sequences and chase scenes. The Tattoo Connection also clearly reflects the visually exploitative cinematic spirit characteristic of the 1970s. During this period, the boundaries between action films, crime thrillers, and exploitation cinema were often blurred, and the film fits squarely within that trend. Many sequences were deliberately inserted to heighten stimulation and cater to the tastes of younger audiences at the time. The film features sensual strip dance performances, nightlife entertainment settings, and intimate scenes portrayed more directly than in traditional martial arts films. A notable example is the sequence involving the diamond-cutting technician, where the character is repeatedly approached and seduced by provocatively dressed women inside his workplace. The scene is brief, but it leaves a strong impression of a decadent underworld revolving around money and power. According to records from Chinese film databases, such as Douban, the film contains scenes described as Tuo Yi Wu Lu Dian and Chuang Shang Shi, referring to striptease performances with nudity and intimate bed scenes. These elements are not central to the plot, but they clearly reflect the producer's use of provocative material to sustain audience curiosity and engagement. The presence of such steamy content shows that the Tattoo Connection was not aimed solely at martial arts enthusiasts, but pursued a broader entertainment model. It stands as a representative example of late 1970s exploitation trends, where violent sexuality and rapid pacing were combined to maximize commercial appeal. 17. The quirky directorial style. One of the elements that makes the Tattoo Connection difficult to categorize is Lee So-nam's deliberately inconsistent directorial style. Alongside serious action sequences, he frequently inserts symbolic or unexpectedly humorous imagery, causing the rhythm of the story to shift constantly. A representative example is the appearance of a crocodile dragon head prop EU-toe in several scenes. This detail plays no direct role in the plot, yet it is emphasized enough to leave a strong visual impression. It is precisely this image that led some releases of the film to carry additional subtitles such as Hong Kong Connection or the phrase "Yu To Hei Sha Xing." This reflects Lee So-nam's use of symbolism to evoke the Hong Kong setting while giving the film a distinct identity amid a flood of contemporary action titles. This approach gives the Tattoo Connection a hybrid tone, blending serious action with elements of dark comedy. Within a single narrative flow, audiences may encounter tense fight scenes followed almost immediately by moments of satire or mild absurdity. The mixture recalls Enter the Dragon, but is pushed closer to the sensibility of Hollywood B-movies, where entertainment value and oddity are prioritized over strict narrative coherence. Lee So-nam's method was not intended to produce a textbook example of genre filmmaking, but rather a film with a strong personality. These quirky details help make the Tattoo Connection memorable, and also explain why it was later classified as a cult film, one that audiences revisit not only for its martial arts, but for the sense of strangeness it delivers. 18. A modest 5.210 rating upon its release. The Tattoo Connection did not receive strong support from critics. Its IMDb score hovers around 5.210, while Rotten Tomatoes reflects a fairly polarized reception with many conflicting opinions from viewers. The film was often criticized for lacking narrative coherence, mixing too many elements, and failing to meet the standards of more serious action cinema. Over time, however, the film has come to be viewed differently. Many audiences have grown to appreciate the distinctly 1970s quality that the Tattoo Connection embodies: direct martial arts action, fast pacing, and extended fight sequences, particularly the climactic finale. In addition, the film's awkward humor, rough staging, and simple special effects have become part of its unique appeal. For fans of Jim Kelly or of gritty, rough-edged martial arts films, the Tattoo Connection is often regarded as a nostalgic piece of entertainment, unpolished but surprisingly addictive. 19. Two main language versions. From a technical standpoint, the Tattoo Connection was filmed primarily in Hong Kong, making full use of the city's urban landscapes and harbor settings characteristic of the late 1970s. Some exterior scenes were shot in the Sai Kung area, where open spaces and coastal terrain were well suited for chase sequences, and the climactic finale aboard the oil tanker. These locations contribute to the film's sense of realism, aligning with the spirit of Hong Kong action cinema of that era. The film was produced in a multilingual context, resulting in two main language versions. In Hong Kong, it was released primarily in Cantonese. For scenes featuring Jim Kelly, English dialogue was recorded directly on set, after which the entire film was dubbed for synchronization in each market. This process led to noticeable differences between releases, particularly in the English language versions. The most common runtime of the film on US DVD releases is approximately 90 minutes. Because the film eventually entered the public domain, numerous copies with varying levels of image and sound quality appeared on the market. Some English-dubbed versions contain minor alterations in dialogue, including instances where the character Lucas is referred to by different forms of address, such as the black guy. These variations reflect how international distributors adjusted content to suit target audiences, while also revealing a lack of consistency in the film's distribution history. 20. The film as a treasure map. The Tattoo Connection is not ranked alongside martial arts classics such as Enter the Dragon or The Warlords. It did not redefine the genre, nor did it establish a new standard for action cinema. However, within the global community of martial arts film enthusiasts, the movie is often regarded as a treasure map, a work that reveals new, strange, and memorable details with each rewatch. The 20 facts surrounding the film, from its changing titles and distribution strategies to its action choreography and behind-the-scenes stories, show that The Tattoo Connection was a product of a very particular cinematic era. It was a time when action films were made quickly, aggressively, with little long-term calculation, yet full of energy and a willingness to experiment. The blend of Asian martial arts with the spirit of American blaxploitation allowed the film to retain a distinct identity even while remaining outside the mainstream. Today, many younger viewers seek out The Tattoo Connection, not because of its reputation, but out of curiosity about the wild cinematic landscape of the 1970s. Through the film, they can clearly see Jim Kelly at the peak of his stylistic power, confident, physically formidable, and unmistakably individual within the on-screen martial arts world. It is this quality that allows The Tattoo Connection to continue being remembered not as a legend, but as a vivid fragment of action film history.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast. There is still so much more to explore: stories of resilience, legacy, and truth. Feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now appearing on your screen.